How did Betty White live out her last years during COVID? Did she have a long-running feud with one of her Golden Girls co-stars? These are tragic details about Betty White. The Great Depression devastated the livelihoods of millions of Americans, and its detrimental effects were felt across society for many years after. In search of a better life for their daughter, Betty White's parents moved from Illinois to California in the midst of the Depression, but they faced financial hardships even after the move. Speaking with the Archive of American Television, White discussed the impact of the economic crisis when growing up. "My dad was still working for electric company Kraus-Heinz, but nobody was making any money, and so to make added income, he started making radios, and he would sell them as a sideline. Well, of course, it was the middle of the Depression and nobody had any money, so he didn't sell a lot of radios." The actor went on to explain that her father didn't make the wisest financial decision when he decided to trade radios for dogs, at one point ending up with 20 dogs, whom the family struggled to feed. Despite the difficulties she endured, her father's canine commitment ultimately had a positive effect on White, as it instilled in her a love of animals. Growing up in the male-dominated society of the 1920s and 30s, Betty White experienced sexist discrimination. In fact, her initial childhood dream was to become a forest ranger, but those dreams were shattered by patriarchal traditions, she told ABC News. But back then, girls were not allowed to become forest rangers. Shockingly, forest history notes that it wasn't until 1978 that women could be forest rangers. As reported by Time, White was finally made an honorary forest ranger in 2010. In a moving speech, White said that though she might not have been an official forest ranger,
"I've been working for the cause for the last 89 years."
At the event, U.S. Forest Service Chief Tom Tidwell somberly acknowledged the sexist discrimination that had prevented White from fulfilling her ambition all those decades earlier.
"I'm sorry you couldn't join us before."
He continued to say, "Judging from your great career, you would have made marvelous contributions to our agency and to the cause of conservation across the United States." Finally, Tidwell ended by saying,
"Betty, you are a role model for little girls. I think a role model for all of us. Never to give up on our dreams."
The significance of the award was not lost on White, who told ABC News, "I was so pleased to look out and see all those women in their ranger uniforms." Betty White was renowned for supporting progressive causes, and her career subsequently suffered for her passionate convictions. In the 1950s, White snagged her eponymous variety show, but her glittering fame abruptly came to a halt when she stood up for the rights of the marginalized. When black tap dancer Arthur Duncan appeared on her show in 1954, there was a racist backlash, resulting in calls for the talented performer to be fired. White recounted the events in the documentary Betty White, First Lady of Television, that she had 3 simple words for those people:
Live with it.
The show was taken off the air that same year. While it remains a matter of dispute whether Duncan's presence was the reason for the Betty White show's premature cancellation, the racist furor in which its termination was mired is undeniable. White has suggested that her support of Duncan played a role in the show's end.
All through the South, there was this whole ruckus. They were going to take our show off the air if we didn't get rid of Arthur because he was black.
In 1963, Betty White married for the third and final time, but the relationship was initially blighted by tragedy. When White met Alan Ludden, he was the host of the popular series Password, but beneath the cheerful facade of the game show, Ludden was suffering immeasurable heartache. White told the Archive of American Television, "Just as Password started, his wife was dying of cancer, so he would go from the hospital over, do the show, and to do a new show takes a lot of concentration without certainly that. And the week that I did Password was the week she died." Ludden's wife Margaret left behind 3 children aged 9, 10, and 13 at the time. White and Ludden bonded and wed sometime after, but his daughter Martha did not take too kindly to White. As reported by Pop Crunch, Martha reportedly harbored intense anger toward her new stepmom. This alleged animosity wasn't easy on the beloved Golden Girls star, as her new hubby and stepdaughter reportedly argued incessantly over White. In 1981, Alan Ludden died of stomach cancer after slipping into a coma at the age of 62, as reported by the New York Times. Betty White and Ludden had been married for almost 20 years, and the loss devastated her. To make a tragic situation even sadder, White's mother died just 4 years later when she first began her role as Rose on The Golden Girls, as did co-star Bea Arthur's mom. In what was perhaps a cathartic turn of events, White reenacted her 2 bereavements on screen when filming the episode The Heart Attack. In the season 1 episode, Rose recalls the death of her husband, and it proved to be a particularly painful scene for the actor to perform in the wake of both losses. Director Lex Pisaris revealed to Closer Weekly, "We were ready to shut down the show for as long as they needed, but both ladies said no, we need to work." He continued, "Rose tells a story about her husband Charlie's death, and Betty's basically talking about Alan Ludden. Betty's voice kind of cracked, and she took a breath and said to me, I'd give anything to have that year of my life back again." When a loved one dies, many people wish that they could have just one more moment with the deceased, one more hug, one more chance to say, "I love you." For Betty White, this self-introspection was all the more tragic because she could have enjoyed more time with Alan Ludden had she accepted his initial romantic gestures. In an emotional interview on Where Are They Now with Oprah Winfrey, White revealed that she deeply regretted turning down Ludden's first marriage proposal, lamenting that she could have had one more year with the love of her life. "I spent a whole year, wasted a whole year that Alan and I could have had together, saying, no, I wouldn't marry him, no, I won't leave California, no, I won't move to New York."
And I wasted a whole year we could have had together.
Much has been made of the supposed long-running feud between Betty White and her Golden Girls co-star Bea Arthur. In 2011, White addressed the rumors, claiming that Arthur intensely disliked her and made her life difficult on set. White alleged, per the Village Voice, "Bea had a reserve. She was not that fond of me. She found me a pain in the neck sometimes. It was my positive attitude, and that made Bea mad sometimes. Sometimes if I was happy, she'd be furious." Jim Colucci, author of Golden Girls Forever, an unauthorized biography, talked to Fox News about Arthur's allegedly difficult on-set behavior. "If you were chewing gum on the set, she would try to have you fired." Moreover, Arthur's son, Matthew Sachs, revealed that his mother took issue with White's willingness to chat with fans between takes. He told The Hollywood Reporter, "I think my mom didn't dig that. Betty was able to do it and it didn't seem to affect her, but it rubbed my mom the wrong way." Additionally, Sachs explained to the publication that part of Arthur's dislike of White stemmed from her belief that her co-star wasn't a true thespian. "I think she felt she was more of an actress than Betty. Mom came from Broadway. Betty starred on a game show at one point." A renowned animal welfare advocate throughout her life, Betty White enjoyed the company of numerous pets. In fact, she told TV Guide in 2009 that her animal welfare work meant more to her than acting. Sadly, a number of White's beloved pets died around this time, leaving her with just her golden retriever, Pontiac. In 2008, she had to endure the loss of 3 of her pets within the space of a couple of months. She told TV Guide, "About a year ago, I lost my 16-and-a-half-year-old Shih Tzu, my 10-year-old Golden, and my 11-year-old Himalayan kitty all within 2 months of each other. I was absolutely devastated." In another tragic turn of events, White also outlived Pontiac, who died in 2017, according to People. Poignantly, the actor's personal assistant told the outlet that White decided to forgo adopting any other animals following her dog's death, as she couldn't bear the thought of having to part ways. She didn't want to leave them behind. Speaking to Smithsonian Magazine, White revealed that she always personally replied to fan mail about the loss of a pet. "Because I know how it hurts. If they write to me about that loss, I can't not respond. To give them a little word of comfort or sympathy or let them know I certainly understand. I answer pet loss mail and I answer mail from widows." As someone in her 90s, Betty White was at great risk throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Subsequently, like so many other clinically vulnerable people, she spent her final years shielding alone in her house. While self-isolating was undoubtedly a wise decision to protect her health, in May 2021, TMZ reported that White was feeling lonely and was looking forward to finally being able to go outside and see her friends again. The outlet notes that she hadn't been leaving the house and could only see her friends through the barrier of her windows. Moreover, the only visitors White had were carers. At the start of the pandemic in 2020, a representative for the actor told Today that nobody was permitted in except her helpers. As reported by the New York Post, her final years were made increasingly challenging due to the fact that she wasn't able to self-isolate where she wanted to, the Carmel, California house in which she'd lived with late husband Alan Ludden. For convenience, she had to spend her last days in a Brentwood, Los Angeles home that she wasn't particularly fond of. An insider claimed she never wanted to leave her home in Carmel but was forced to for at-home care. If she had it her way, Betty would have lived and died in that home in Carmel. It's the home she shared with her husband. It's where she felt more comfortable. With the persistent threat of COVID-19, 2021 was a difficult year for so many people. For Betty White and her devoted fans, the year ended on the saddest possible note. White died on New Year's Eve, a mere 18 days before she would reach the milestone of her 100th birthday. Her final Instagram post remains a tragic reminder of what can never be. Just 3 days before she died, she posted a photo of her People magazine cover entitled "Betty White Turns 100." The star wrote in part in the caption, "My 100th birthday, I cannot believe it is coming up." Following her death, White's agent told People that he truly thought she would live forever. However, despite looking far younger than her almost centenarian self, White was reportedly unwell for quite a while. White's longtime dress designers, Paula Tu and his husband, Patrick Simpson, revealed to Hollywood Life that her health had been faltering. Tu said, "I've known that her health was not great for some time, but it wasn't until October that I knew how bad it was. In October, we had contacted her management about doing a gown for her 100th birthday. We were told her health was failing and that a gown would not be needed. The Golden Girl may be gone, but she will never be forgotten. Thank you for being a friend, Betty."